Hi, Lily.
Did you do the flashy thing in front of the camera with your hand?
I already did it.
Oh, okay. Oh, my back.
It's on. You're ready to go.
Okay. Hey guys! Today we're going to be learning about density again. It's a lot of fun, and it is a little tricky to understand though. It's a fun physics concept. I can say words.
I can too. Concept's an easy one.
It is a very fun physics concept. And this activity sort of
Is that big red?
It is not big red, it's water. Anyway, this activity really demonstrates the idea and the effect of density in different liquids. Not to mention looking really cool when you're all finished. So, what you're going to need are some honey, some dish soap, vegetable oil. I think this is vegetable soybean oil. It counts. Some water and alcohol. You are also going to need something like a turkey baster. We'll talk about that later on. And you will also need a tall, skinny container of some sort. I got my boss to buy me this fancy graduated cylinder. It's made of polypropylene and I'm so excited about it. I can put anything in here and it won't melt. I get really excited about lapware.
I don't. I get excited about Big Red.
Big Red is good. It's good.
You know what it goes good with?
Barbecue.
And barbacoa.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get our graduated cylinder or your tall skinny container. Use like a glass vase or something, like a narrow tumbler, something like that. And we're going to start with our honey. So we're going to very carefully bring it to the top of here. I'm going to put in about, we're going to aim for about 1 inch of this liquid. Aim for 1 inch of each liquid so that we can really see separation between the layers. Oh no, I got it on the side. Try not to get it down the side, because at least with the honey and the dish soap, because it can kind of muddy your layers a little.
Sounds like a blues guitar's Muddy Layers. Old Muddy Layers. And a science experiment. Back in there.
Okay, I think that's about all I'm going to be able to get out for now.
You know, I heard honey is one of the few things that actually lasts many years.
It does. It lasts quite a while. In fact, I once found, when I was cleaning out the pantry, I found a really dark jar of old crystallized honey, and it didn't look good. It did not look good.
Yeah.
But the thing about honey is, if it crystallizes like that, you can stick it in the microwave or put the jar in a pan of hot water, and you can melt it and decrystallize it, so it'll be like smooth and clear and nice again.
So how did it taste?
It tasted fine.
Oh, wow.
Yep, we used it all. It was great. Okay, so once you have your honey in, you're going to take your dish soap and carefully pour that in. Gently, not too much velocity. See how it's already making a nice layer? We'll fill that up to about.
So how's the soap supposed to make the honey taste better?
This is not an edible experiment.
Oh, okay.
This is not an edible experiment. Do not eat this when you're done. Uh-oh. Okay. So the next thing we're going to use is our vegetable oil. And ideally you would have a turkey baster or something to do this with. I don't have a turkey baster, so I'm going to use some pipe cleaners and hope that that works. We'll see how well it works. Because if you don't have a turkey baster or like a funnel or something to get a liquid into a small container, giving it a path to follow can usually help keep it from spilling and make it actually go into the container. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Yes. Physics! Okay, you can also use something like the back of a spoon if your container is smaller than this. It's a little bit tall.
It's like one time when I had a leak in my plumbing, and I had to get a piece of rope to guide the water.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Same principle.
Yep. So carefully. Look how well that works. Isn't that great? Carefully. Gonna pour. I messed up, guys.
It's alright.
Messed up.
There's no such thing as mistakes. Just happy little accidents.
Oh no, this was a mistake.
I think Oscar the Graf said that. What did you do?
So I'm gonna put this back. I wasn't following my directions carefully enough and I made a mistake. But I think it's gonna be okay.
You know what I call them? Opportunity steaks.
Opportunity steaks?
Yes.
That works. So what I forgot to do was pour the water after the dish soap. But I think it's gonna be okay because the vegetable oil that's on top of here is hydrophobic, meaning it doesn't want to mix with the water. So
And
if
it's also afraid of water. I know
Sure.
that.
Sure. You've been spending too much time with Stripey.
Yes. Too much.
Far too much time with Stripey. He's a bad influence.
He's been crashing up my pad.
What did his boat say?
Well, he's been hanging out here at the Cal Public Library, but every time I come around, he asks to go and stay at my place. And then he doesn't wash his dishes.
That's just rude.
He blames it on Polly. Don't get me started on Dylan.
Dylan's the worst.
Yep.
Okay, so I think I can get the water to layer under the vegetable oil and on top of the dish soap if I'm very careful. So I'm gonna take this guy and oh so carefully pour a little of my red colored water. Whoops, that didn't. There we go. Just tilt it a little different angle. And that helps a lot. Alright. Oop, it is penetrating that dish soap layer a little bit. I don't think it'll even out in a second. Oop, oh dear. I used my finger as a path instead of the There we go. Isn't that cool? See how it just falls below the vegetable oil? Because it doesn't want to mix with the vegetable oil. And the dish soap is too heavy for it to mix with, without a lot of agitating. You remember what agitating means?
Calling it names, getting it upset.
No, we learned about this when we made butter, remember?
I can't remember that far back.
It means mixing it very, very
Oh,
vigorously,
that's right.
Mixing it very hard. I have dish soap on my hand.
You know, there's a lot. It looks very Christmas-like. Very holiday
That's
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Got a green layer, got a red layer. Got a gold layer down at the bottom. Side note, you're probably gonna want to ask a grown-up to be your lab assistant, because some of these liquids can get a little messy, or a lot messy. Gotta be very careful. So now we're gonna pour a little more oil in, just to make that layer nice and thick. Yay, we saved it! We saved it, Orlando.
Oh, nice.
Right? Looking sweet.
Yeah, that looks very cool.
Yeah. Whoop. See, that's what I mean about being careful. Tried to squeeze the oil off it and almost made a huge mess. So the next thing we're gonna do If I can get the oil on my fingers. That's why you should have a lab coat or like a big t-shirt, something you don't care about too much to wear over your regular clothes. So again, stuff you can use to pour if you don't have a turkey baster, something like the chenille sticks, the back of a spoon, or if you're a big old nerd like me and you keep lab glassware at home, like beakers, you can use glass rods, which are used for stirring. I use those to make soap.
Use what now? Glass rods?
Mm-hmm. That's chemistry though, and today we're doing physics. Almost. There we go. I had to twist two together because one isn't long enough. So, last step is to take our alcohol and do the same thing. Very, very carefully. And layer it on top of the oil. Oh, that's cool. Guess what, Orlando?
What's it doing?
So the vegetable oil had some bubbles on top of it, some like little blobs of oil because I poured the water through it. But when I poured the alcohol on top of the oil, all of those bubbles merged back into the main body of the oil layer. Isn't that interesting?
That's magic.
It is. Science is magic that's real. I have a shirt that says that. Ooh, careful, careful. This is so cool.
That is crazy, all those different layers.
Is it not insane and awesome? There we go. Whew. Oh, that is smelly. He's very impressed.
I'm very impressed. I'm looking at those very colorful layers.
Yep.
I'm wondering if I could, if it would be possible to get a big giant straw, put it in the middle, and just get the honey out of there.
Why would you want to? It's under dish soap.
I like a challenge.
Weirdo Orlando. So I don't know if you can see all the layers. If I do that, it'll help. So we have the honey at the bottom, then a nice layer of the dish soap, then the water, the vegetable oil, and the alcohol right on top. And the reason they layer like this is because they all have a different density. The honey is probably, I think that's about 1.5 grams per milliliter is how much it weighs. So 1 milliliter of honey, 1 cubic centimeter of honey, weighs 1.5 grams. The dish soap is a little bit lighter. 1 milliliter or 1 cubic centimeter of dish soap weighs about 1.4, maybe 1.3 grams per milliliter. And that's why it floats on top, because density is sort of a measure of how much stuff like atoms or molecules are in a volume of liquid. So you can have the same volume of two different liquids, but one might have more atoms than the other. Even though it's the same amount, one has more molecules. Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
And that makes it heavier, so it falls to the bottom. So this one is very dense. This is a little less dense. The water's less dense than that. Vegetable oil is less dense than the water, and the alcohol is less dense than everything in there. And that's why they layer so nicely. So let's look at my notes here, so I don't forget anything else. So we made this by pouring the heaviest thing in first, and then lighter, 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 lighter. And right, so they don't mix like the alcohol and the water, because they're like, I'm sure you know that soap and water will mix, but it's the density that keeps them apart, and the fact that the water is very fluid and the soap is a little bit more viscous, it's thicker, and that helps them not mix. Okay, so anyway, so if you know the density of a liquid, you can determine which order they need to be poured in and able to layer in order to layer nicely.
What if
Mm-hmm.
you use something like actual Big Red?
You know, I don't know the density of Big Red off the top of my head. I would imagine it's close to water, which is, I think, oh no, I got oil all over my notes. The oil is about, oh, I don't have my density there, that's a different list. I want to say oil is like maybe 0.8 grams per milliliter, but I'm probably wrong. I think water is 1 gram per milliliter, I know that.
Okay.
So actually Big Red might be heavier because it's got a lot of sugar dissolved in it.
And syrup. Wait, that is sugar.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Big Red might float between the dish soap and the water, you don't know. If you try to layer them and it works, then you know, right? That's what experimenting is about. So this, though, is just a demonstration. If you want to make this an experiment, you need my favorite thing, which is, do you know, Orlando?
Using Big Red.
That's your favorite thing.
Oh wait, that's my favorite thing.
My favorite thing is variables.
Variables!
I love
That's
variables.
right. Who doesn't like variables?
So some variables you can do. You can use our different liquids to see if you can get them to layer as well. You can determine density by, again, just trying to layer them. If one falls through another and falls to the bottom, then you know it's denser than what you just tried to pour it on top of. If it just mixes and doesn't like float above or fall below, if it just mixes, it's about the same density. It's approximately the same density. You can also try getting some small objects together, like a cherry tomato, a metal bolt or screw, a ping pong ball, a Lego, a paper clip, and just kind of drop them carefully into your column and see where they stop falling. See how high they float. This is so cool. I've actually never done this before, so we all learned something today. Wasn't this fun, Orlando?
This was amazingly fun.
So fun.
This is too much fun. More fun than the law should allow.
It's an illegal amount of fun.
My, oh my, we're having such fun now.
Anyway, have fun with this, guys. Happy experimenting and happy holidays. See you next year.